How long does it take to rent out an entire pre-construction condo when it just occupies? Stay tuned to this week's episode of Prime Property TV. Promise you, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Property TV. So glad you could join us here. I just watched Avengers Endgame this weekend with the fiance, and wow, it was good. I will not comment any further in case you haven't watched it for spoilers, but just so that you know, because our team is such a big Marvel junkie, we've already bought IMAX tickets for next week to go as a team. So good, can't wait to watch it again. Many first-time pre-con investors ask me the same questions, and I want to address it right now. A lot of them is, will we have too much supply? What happens if I buy in a project and there aren't enough renters to fill the unit? Would I have to reduce my rent to get a tenant? These are all very valid questions because you're putting so much capital into the investment. I want to show you two examples, and I'll let you guys decide whether or not we have too much supply. Now, when it comes to supply, you probably have heard me say I'm 100% confident that we do not have enough housing for the immigration that's coming into Greater Toronto area. I've said this many times in different ways, in different mediums. Despite what people are thinking in the construction they see everywhere in the cranes, the development process has slowed down significantly since 2017. It's effectively double the time it takes to build a condo. It used to be like 3-4 years, now it could be like 6 to 7, 8 years, depending on the height of the condo. So despite what construction you see on your daily commute and what may tell you about our supply, we're actually at an all-time low in the last decade for construction in the city that is expected to double its population by 2040. Now, to show you what I mean is I provide two examples of a rental shortage right now. The data below I'm using right now is for two condos. One is Noir by Menkes, which is 87 Peter Street in the Entertainment District. The other one is Grid by Center Court, 181 Dundas Street East, which is by Dundas Street East and Jarvis. If you want access to the data, I'll put a link in the description below to access the Excel sheet. Now let's first look at 87 Peter Street in Entertainment District. Here's some relevant information I'll leave on the screen here for you. 49 floors, about 550 units. Square footage is about 454 to about 1,000. Now, as the building is slowly being completed, there's a period we call occupancy, where the owners of the units have the ability to move in or lease out the property before getting a mortgage on it. This is before it registers. The occupancy date is different for each unit because as more and more units become complete, more and more owners get keys to it and more owners can lease it or move in. So you can imagine within a few months, 550 units become available for lease or move in. Lots of supply, right? Unfortunately, that's actually not the case. Now, the information I use doesn't track all of the activity because some people put on Kijiji and some people are just moving on their own. But of the information that I've put in, you can see that 225 units have been listed for lease, and guess how many were leased out? 194 of them, which is 86%. Now, this may seem low to you, but actually, as of right now, there's only 5 available properties to lease in a 550 unit building. The lease numbers are skewed lower because what happened is a lot of people actually had their listing terminated by the builder, meaning that they couldn't lease it just then because they were a little bit too early. But very likely, those same units got leased afterwards. So of the 194 units that were leased, here's a breakdown on the screen. You can see that the average days on market for a lease is 2 weeks. 2 weeks! Plus, they were all leased at 100% full asking price. Too much supply, or what I think, not enough. These numbers basically say that if the entire building came online at the same time, all 550 units are going to be leased in about 2 to 3 weeks for full asking. 550 units, not enough supply. Here's another example. Let's look at Grid, 181 Dundas Street East. I picked this building on purpose because the builder Center Court didn't actually have an occupancy period. So let that sink in for a while. This means 528 units became available all at the same time. So this building is 47 floors, it's got 528 units, and the square footage ranges from 441 to 640. This is a very investor-oriented building. So for Grid, 364 units were listed on MLS, and of the 364 units, 261 or 70% were leased. Same thing. Center Court didn't really allow realtors to post the units that were available for lease until the building registered. That's why 20% of the listings were actually terminated in the spreadsheet because a lot of realtors don't know what they're doing and they list things prematurely. So regardless if you look at the spread on the leased units, the numbers that are not as strong as Noir at 87 Peter Street, but your average days on market is just a little over 3 weeks. It's still very strong numbers despite not being as strong as Noir. And the fact that 528 units became available at the same time, there's no spacing in between. This is a case study that literally tells you that if 500 units in a project became available, 3 weeks, it would be fully leased out at about 99% of what they're asking for. So if you're wondering if this is too much supply right now in GTA, rest assured, we do not have enough. So when you're investing in pre-construction condos, you need to understand the fundamentals of the area you're investing in. So the two examples I just provided you have high demand because they're near employers and universities and they were well priced. Remember, not every pre-construction is worth investing in, and to find out which ones, make sure to reach me. My contacts are right here, or you can subscribe to our weekly VIP newsletter by clicking in the description below. Until next time, happy real estating.